Hey guys, CSS18 here, and welcome back to my web development tutorial, where I teach you the three basic coding languages of the internet: HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. Now, we got through HTML in our last tutorial video, and we actually got through it in one video I found, which was something I wasn't necessarily expecting. Let me clear that up a little bit. Never mind, we're fine. But, I'm getting distracted here. But we did get through it in one video, so that was exciting for me. So now we're going to CSS, and as you can see I have my Atom open here again. And just basically what I'm going to do is I'm just going to teach you first of all what CSS is and how to get it into HTML, because HTML and CSS are not the same language, so it can be a little tricky at first if you're trying to learn how to link the two files together, or you can just write it in the same file. But there is two specific ways of doing it, or at least that I know of. So if you're open in Atom here, which I strongly recommend you get, it's a free code editor, and you can get it at atom.io, and you can download it for free. So if you're doing that, whatever, you can even use Notepad if you want. It's no big deal. But I'm just going to make a new file here. I'm going to name it, let's go CSS. What did I name this? HTML tutorial? No, HTML tut. So let's go CSS tut.css. So we've got ourselves a CSS file here. And now you can see we have the HTML and the CSS open over here. Alright, so you've just created your first CSS file, but we can write whatever we want here, but it's not actually going to take effect on the HTML page. So what we're going to do is we're going to introduce something in the head called a link tag. And the way that works is, now let me just write the whole thing first. So it is link type, text slash CSS, rel equals style sheet, and ref equals CSS tut.css. And then it's a self-closing tag, so you just put a slash, and then we close the tag. Alright, so unless I'm mistaken, these are in the same folder on my computer called www. So if you're just working locally, these should actually all save directly on your computer, and you shouldn't have any issues with that at all. So with that, now we can actually start doing stuff with the CSS. So if we look at the HTML, let's take a look over here, and I think I'm going to start with the div, just so I can really show you how things work. So we're going to go div, and this is how things work in CSS. So you use the HTML tag name and use these curly braces to designate, okay, for this I want to, whatever's in this curly brace, this is what I want you to do. And basically, just to explain what CSS is, it just styles. Like it said over in the HTML page, rel is style sheet, and HTML or CSS, sorry, is always, it's often referred to, if you want to, I'll get to this later, but CSS is often referred to as a style, and that's just how it works. So we're going to style up this HTML a bit. So if we look over at my website, I believe the div is right here if we open up the code. Yeah, so we have the div right here. So what we're going to do with that is, let's go and let's set some proportions to this. So let's go width and whoops. So it's going to give me those, those default options, but I'm not going to use any of them. Let's go 200 pixels, and that's how you write width in CSS. We'll write height, and we'll make it a 1-to-1 ratio just to keep things easy. And then we'll give it a background color. I believe in the HTML tutorial, it's been maybe a week or so, a few days since I did it, but I believe I did blue, so we'll do the exact same thing. And then, now let's give it a border. So let's go 4px solid black. Alright, so I'll explain what this means in a minute. Oh, and let's make the text a bit more readable. We'll go color white. There. So I'll explain what this means in a minute, but just to give you a quick glimpse of what it can do. There you go. So obviously I haven't centered it. So now this is another thing you can do. but I'll explain this first. So as you can see, width and height, pretty straightforward. The background color sets the color of the background. Again, pretty straightforward. And then the border tag is really the only complicated thing here. So basically, the border tag is a makeup of 3 different tags in CSS, or properties, or whatever you call them. So border, yeah, as you can see, border top, border radius, border width, border color, and border style. Or that's the makeup of those 3. So I could use, so if I did border width 4 pixels, border style solid, border width, border color black. I did all 3. It would have the exact same effect, but it's just faster to do this. Less typing. You always want to type the least amount of possible when you're coding, because usually you have to type a lot. And lastly, this is just changing the color of the font. At first I was surprised it wasn't something like font color, but it's not. It's just color. That's all you write. So now let's fix this up a little bit. And something you probably noticed with HTML is that everything has like pretty edgy borders. Everything is really well defined. Well, CSS, you can change that by adding a border radius property. And we're gonna give it a border radius of, I don't know, let's go 15 pixels. So let's save that. And bam. As you can see, we now have rounded edges. And yeah. I wanted to get into centering stuff. So first of all, we're going to remove the aligns, just because I really need to do that, because it just does not look good when you use those. Alright, so we'll get rid of that. And there will be some other stuff for that as well. Alright, I think, the H1. There, that's it. So now if we reload the HTML page, everything should be the left. So the paragraph inside the div, we're just gonna realign that. It's actually a fun property. I enjoy using this one. It's text align. I can't spell. And we'll put it to center. So there you go. And once we reload this, it'll be in the middle. And then if we wanted to put this div in the middle of the page, we set the margin of the div to auto. That's pretty much the only time I would actually use that selection there if you're writing CSS, because when you're writing CSS, it's a very individual thing. And as you can see, in the middle of the page, and it should work for all the different things that we're using. So I'm gonna, let's see, what else should I do? Oh, right, fonts. So you probably noticed that every single font on this entire page, apart from the header, looks the exact same, and that can get kind of boring. So what you can do is you can go font, family, and I like to use Arial, lots of stuff. I like to use Arial, and if I'm looking for a more fancy one, I go Lucida and writing. Although not all browsers support that, and there's only one D in Lucida. Not all browsers support it. I still really like that. So if you're afraid that a browser isn't going to support something, you can go and add a comma, and then that'll give it a second potential font that it looks to. So as you can see, that's Lucida handwriting when you use it in CSS. We can also change the font size, so just font size, and let's put it to 25 pixels. And if you've done HTML before, and you probably, well, I don't know if you have or not, but HTML4, before HTML5, there was a font tag you'd use in HTML, and it'd be like font face, and it would be the equivalent of font family. Size would be and it was, each size I found was relatively about 5 pixels. So if you want to use that tag, this is practically 5 pixels, or size 5 font. But again, make sure you use CSS, because if you got this doc type HTML thing, or pretty much any browser nowadays isn't going to support all that other stuff. So let's add some more styles to this. Let's style the banner. So we'll give the font in the banner, and then we'll give it let's do Arial for that one, so you can see Arial. But I'm pretty sure most people are familiar with that one. So as you can see, a little different now. let's just to oh, I should probably teach you this. See, this property is called asterisk, or well, I don't think it's really called asterisk. It's represented with an asterisk, and basically what it means is I'm selecting everything on the entire page, and I'm just gonna set it to margin auto. There. So now everything on our entire page, provided isn't being annoying. Yeah, it's gonna be annoying. I don't know why this happened last time I did this either. Alright. But that's how you can do it with that. So that's how you select everything on the entire page. You can do that with the asterisk property, or selector, I guess would be the right word. Alright. So now let's give the image a border. So to do that, we go image, border. Still not used to px solid black. And there's also other kinds of borders. You can go dash and just put a border radius of maybe 20 pixels. Actually, no, yeah, 20 pixels would be good. So if we do that, see, we've got a dashed border now. So personally, I don't really like dashed borders, but the only way I would use a dashed border is if the background is the same color as the thing you're using. And then here, let me just show you. This might be getting a little bit ahead of ourselves here, but let's just go with let's go back to the div, and let's just say we didn't want this background color to be blue, and let's say we had dashed borders. Alright, now I'm going to introduce you to the transition property, and this is basically showing transitions between, well, what I'm going to show you, and we'll put it to 2.2 seconds, ease in, out, which is my personal favorite transition. And this basically means the transition is going to occur over a time of 0.2 seconds, and it's going to ease from, which means it's going to start off slow and get faster at the end, or something like that. Close to that anyway. So with that, we're gonna go div, hover. So that's basically saying this is what I want the div to look like normally, and this is what I want the div to look like when the mouse is over it. So now we're gonna change the border. Again, this is just the only time I'd only use dashed borders for real, but we'd go border for px solid black. Alright, and we'll get the background color to blue. There. And make sure you with those spaces. Not necessary, but it makes stuff look cleaner in my opinion. So let's reload this. As you can see, nothing there. But once we move over, again, it's not perfect, but it's still a interesting transition. Maybe if I made the time a bit longer, maybe 0.3 seconds, because it is a little quick. There, it looks a little nicer. So as you can see, you can actually have interactive stuff in your CSS, which I found, that just blew my mind when I learned CSS. But yeah, that's that, but I'm not going to have dash borders on anything here. And I'm just going to get rid of that real quick. Oops. And put this to solid. And now is this image going to align? See, I'm not very skilled with images and stuff because I don't, oh whoops, I have to re-add the background property. Background color, or you can just use background. Again, type less. I just got into the habit of using background color, so that's just what I write. Coding is very personal. There is a specific way of doing things, but at the same time, there's so many different ways of achieving that same end result. So it's very personal. So as you can see, same effect. But I can't get the picture to center in the page. So what we can do for that, if something's not wanting to center, we can just go like this. So as you can see, we've got all our stuff, and it's all relatively separate, right? But let's not put the banner in this. Let's go div. And now I'm introducing you to something. Something new is called class. And this is just an identifier for CSS, and I'll get into what that means in a minute. So we'll name it all align. And I'm not going to close it there. I'm going to close it at the very bottom of the page. Oops. There. So now that div is actually surrounding the entire page. I don't know if this is going to cooperate or not. Can I scroll left or no? No. Okay, fair enough. Oh, here we go. Nope, it's still not doing it. Alright, whatever. So if it were to allow me to close this div, everything in here would actually be gone. But I think it has something to do with that image only taking up one line. But no matter. So we'll save that. And now we go over here. And to identify class, because if I just went all align, it's like all align. Well, I don't know what that is. As you can see, it's a completely different color from this. It says I don't know what an all align is, because all align isn't actually an HTML tag. So to tell it that it's looking for a class on a page, we hit a dot in front of it, or a period. And that'll tell it, okay, this is a class, I'll just look for stuff like that. So again, we used the text align center here. So I'm just going to copy that and put it down here, or you could type it, whatever you want. But it'll have the same effect. So that should align everything on your entire page. And of course, oh no, I did something wrong. Oh, whoops, 3 L's. I'm not sure why it worked then. Okay, that was confusing. Anyway, as you can see, we have all that stuff, but it's presented us with another problem. As you can see, we have our div set, the actual div, set to this. And that creates an issue because it says, okay, well, you want me to do this. I'll just put text align to center, but this is actually covering the entire page, but the div that's presented on the page is only shown on here, so it's creating kind of a frenzy for the HTML. And the CSS, it's like, okay, I'm kind of it tries to do both things at once, and then just kind of screws things over. So we're just going to come back here and we're going to give this a class. We'll just name it class and what the text is in it, so we'll go class lol. Actually, no, let's give it an ID so I can teach you that. ID. Or you can use capitals, but doesn't matter. I generally use capitals. So let's go ID. And then we'll change this instead of div to an ID identifier, which is a sharp, hashtag, whatever you want to call it. And then we go lol. So there. That'll give everything in there. I'll fix that up. And it should be working. Like, there we go. But there is an issue with the lists and stuff, because those aren't actually considered text. So let's just go OL. I'll set the margin to auto. Hopefully it works. Another thing you can do is add secondary, like you can add second stuff. Say you want to have more than one tag have this exact thing, or more than one class or ID, or all three at once. It doesn't matter. You can just add commas and apply those styles to everything. And I'm not sure if this is going to work. Nope. Gonna have to block that out again. Control R. Nope, still not going to work. That's okay though. So the way you do that would be to put a div around them, and then you'd center the div in the middle of the page. But no big deal for that. So now what we're going to do is, let's just style up the H1 a little bit. and I think we're good. Oh, here's something, text decoration, and we can go, so you can see line through none, overline, underline, and here it is. Let's go underline, and then we'll do the font family to Times New Roman. That should work. Oh, that's default. Whoops. I'm getting confused here. Georgia. Let's go with that. There. So as you can see, it's now underlined as well. And headers are default bolded. So I believe if we put it to none, that would actually get rid of the bold, but I'm not 100% sure. Nope, but it doesn't matter. Oh yeah, because that would be font weight. Let me get into that right now. Underline. We'll underline that. And then let's change the font weight. And then we'll just set it to normal. And then that should get rid of the bold if you didn't really want it. Yeah, see. There we go. But we do want that bold, so I'm just going to leave it up there. And make sure you're putting these semicolons, because say I didn't have this right here, and I got rid of all those semicolons. As you can see, everything underneath that, inside these parentheses, doesn't register. And then we just have a mess. So there you go. I think I'll actually get rid of these lists, though. No, I'll keep them. Let me fix them, though. So put a div list align. And again, you can name your divs and all this stuff. Or if you're doing class names, name the stuff your way. Name it the way you want it to be named. And stay consistent with the way you do it. Because once you start getting inconsistent in your coding, then it becomes difficult for you to patch bugs and just stuff just generally stops working and or gets more difficult. And you don't want coding can already be difficult at times. You don't want it to get any more so. So let's just stick with this, and we'll go dot list align. Whoops. And then we'll go height. Actually, let's forget the height. We'll just put the width to maybe 200 pixels, and we'll put the margin to auto, and that should fix this up. Should. Anyway. There. So as you can see, that works fairly well. Alright. Alright. So as you can see, there's this way to implement CSS onto your HTML page, but there's another way to do it, and it actually doesn't even require having a separate file. You can actually write CSS directly into HTML. So say we got rid of this. I'm going to add this back after, but this is just for show. Personally, I prefer to write it this way, but in the tutorial I'm going to keep it other than this just so it's more clean. So the style tag allows you to write CSS directly into HTML. So we're just going to copy all of that, and we'll put it inside the style tag. And as you can see, nothing changes. It's the exact same thing. But if we open up our source, you can see we actually have all our CSS right here. So again, another great way of doing things, but it's not harder, it's just different. So that's pretty much all I wanted to cover in this tutorial today. Thank you for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial. I'll be coming out with another one very soon. I think next time we'll be done CSS, because CSS isn't actually that difficult of a language to learn. It's fairly simple, as well as HTML. JavaScript is where we're actually going to have the trouble, or not trouble, but it's going to be the most difficult of the three. But I'm going to do my best to make it as easy as possible. So let's just wrap this up right here. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure to leave a like if you enjoyed this video. I'd really appreciate that. And comment stuff that you're unsure about or whatever, and I'll make it happen. I'm pre-recording all these videos just so I can upload them all quickly. But if you do actually have any genuine questions or concerns and that I feel would warrant another video that I can't just answer in a comment, then I will definitely address those in a new video after I'm done the CSS stuff at least. Alright, that's it for that. Thanks so much for watching, and as always, I will see you next time.